Hello everybody, it's Jackson Fulcher here, and it's finally that time of year to go over my favorite and least favorite films of 2017. This video is all about my favorites though. Now as per usual, the same with like every other list video on this platform, this is my personal list. And if you don't agree with some of the movies I have on here, or some of the movies I don't have on here, that's fine. I don't really care because, as I've already said, this is my own personal list. I have reviews for every film on my list. I don't have every single review out for every honorable mention yet, but for every film on the list, you can go back on my channel and you can see more details as to why it's on there. And there are some films that I haven't seen yet. There are also some films that I have seen and haven't done reviews yet, and so if you're wondering, well, where's this film? You didn't even mention it. It might be because I haven't seen it, or just because I didn't do a video on it. So, without further ado, let's go over a few honorable mentions that I have, because there are actually quite a lot. John Wick Chapter 2. A Cure for Wellness, Colossal, The Big Sick, Detroit, Good Time, Wind River, American Made, Gerald's Game, The Disaster Artist, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. So with those honorable mentions being mentioned, let's go over my top 12 favorite films of 2017. Why a top 12? Because I like to go one step beyond plagiarism. Anyways, let's get into number 12. Brigsby Bear is a film that in my original review I was a little more vague on it because, as I still stand by, this film is best if you see it completely blind. If you don't see the second or third trailer, you can watch the teaser, don't watch anything else. You're going to get the best experience out of this movie that way. Kyle Mooney, in my opinion, is incredibly underrated in this film, playing this character James, who has to go through a very fascinating arc that actually leads to one of the most inspiring themes of this entire year, in my opinion. Mark Hamill, I know a lot of people will recognize he's great in Star Wars, but he's also really great here, especially with how he impacts James's life. As I said in my original review, I don't want to give away too much, so I'm going to end it there, but if you haven't seen Brigsby Bear yet, please seek it out. It is a really one-of-a-kind film. The Shape of Water is now my second favorite Guillermo del Toro film. He took this very weird concept that on paper you'd read and be like, what are you trying to do here? But he actually made it very romantic, very beautiful in a sense, with an excellent chemistry between Doug Jones and Sally Hawkins. Now, Doug Jones playing this creature, the effects, the makeup, prosthetics, they all look really good and visually appealing, but Sally Hawkins is the star of this film. She doesn't speak a single line of dialogue because she is a mute character. She has to do a lot of sign language, and it's a lot of facial expressions too. Somehow this turns into one of the best performances of this entire year. And then you have Michael Shannon, who is just on a completely different level of crazy than he usually is. This character on paper could seem just like a caricature of just like generic bad guys, but Michael Shannon adds something that actually makes you see kind of a new light to this character. And this movie is also backed up by an incredible supporting cast of Octavia Spencer, Michael Stuhlbarg, Richard Jenkins. This movie is wonderfully acted, it's wonderfully made, beautiful visuals, beautiful score. This is a beautiful film. Get Out is my favorite horror film to come out this entire year. No other horror film has come out that was able to beat how unique Get Out is. I enjoyed it and Gerald's Game enough, but those are Stephen King adaptations, whereas Get Out is its own original story with a little bit of social commentary added in there, which I completely adore about this movie. Jordan Peele, everyone knows him for comedy, but he proved with this film that he was able to transition to not just drama or horror, but also as a director and writer. They've already announced that he's working with Universal again to make another social thriller. I can't wait for it because this film was outstanding to me. Daniel Kaluuya as the main character was brilliant in this film. There's a lot of great suspense and horror filmmaking going on, but this movie can also be very comedic, especially with Lil Rel Howery's performance as the supporting character, as Chris's best friend. He is one of the funniest supporting characters of this entire year. He's one of those supporting characters that you don't dread when they actually cut to him because of his subplot being separated from the main one. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is one of the most brilliant screenplays written this entire year. Martin McDonagh, I love Seven Psychopaths, but I think this film surpassed that in a lot of ways. And it's been 5 years since his last film. It's been 5 years. Please make another one sooner, because I don't know if I can wait 5 years for another film from this guy, because there's just so much to love about this film. The movie opens up and I'm thinking, okay, I think I kind of know where certain things are gonna go, and then the movie just completely proves me wrong every turn, and I was like, oh, I'm being surprised by a lot of things I didn't originally expect. That's a great thing. Also, two standout performances from Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell help make this movie as great as it is. Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell have the best performances of their careers in this entire film, mainly because you start off the movie thinking you know where their arcs are going to lead, but then they go through some drastic changes that actually creates better characters. Dunkirk is a movie that will truly transport you onto the beaches that these soldiers are at. The way Christopher Nolan helms this film actually makes you feel like you are a part of this event, that you are trying to survive along with these soldiers, and it's truly brilliant filmmaking here. And I love how this movie isn't just a typical war film in the sense that you are getting a lot of guns shooting at each other, ducking for cover. This movie plays out more as a survival thriller film, which is why they have a PG-13 rating. And a lot of people, of course, complained about that, thinking, well, it's set in, like, World War II, why isn't it rated R? The rating of this film actually doesn't matter. Christopher Nolan proves that you can make a truly suspenseful, truly terrifying war film with a PG-13 rating. The Lego Batman movie is the funniest screenplay to come out this entire year, mainly because it is an ultimate satire on Batman's history and lore. They make fun of Batman's history and Batman as a character throughout this entire film, that it could just be easy to just say, oh, well, it's just a solid good comedy. But what really made this movie work for me is that near the end of the film, they actually not only had Batman go through a really great arc for a Lego Batman character, but they also made me see a new light to the Batman character, to where I was thinking, oh my, that's actually quite smart of them to show off. So what could have turned out to be a subpar spin-off to that movie right over there, Lego Batman movie actually turned out to be on par with that film. Sure, Ninjago may have underwhelmed people considering how great the previous two Lego films have been, but the Lego Batman movie, every time I think of the comedic writing and the genius screenplay, it just makes me more excited for future Lego films. Blade Runner 2049 is better than the first Blade Runner. It is a lot slower, the movie's runtime is longer, which adds to that. It is more of an epic as opposed to just another Star Wars or another sci-fi action film like Valerian, but for me it completely works. Denis Villeneuve has been doing it for me every single year now. Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Arrival last year, which I also gave an A+ to, and now this, 2 A+s in a row for me. Like, that is amazing for Denis Villeneuve to do this for his filmography, and I can't wait to see what else he does in the future, because the way he helms this film is amazing. One of the best directed films of this entire year. Ryan Gosling playing the character of Kay, much more interesting than what I was originally anticipating, and though everyone loves Harrison Ford as Old Man Han Solo, in my opinion, his performance as Deckard in this movie is so fantastic. It might just be better than what he did as Han Solo in Force Awakens, as far as Old Man Harrison Ford goes. Baby Driver has some of the best editing and directing of this entire year. Edgar Wright has a lot of car chases going on in this film, but he pairs them up to music, very specific songs. So to have that editing just kind of line up, the music and the car chase and everything going on, it's a lot of work, but Edgar Wright made it seem easy. He makes it seem easy in this movie. I don't know how he does it, but he did it successfully. It's some of the best action scenes of this entire year. Also, Ansel Elgort surprised me a whole lot, considering that I wasn't too impressed with him in the Divergent series, and I didn't see The Fault in Our Stars, so I don't know how he was in that. But in this film, this is his best performance easily. John Hamm was also very good as the character of Buddy. Jamie Foxx was hysterical, and even Kevin Spacey, for the jerk that he is now, you can't deny that he's still a talented actor, and I watched the movie on Christmas thinking, like, please don't tarnish the movie, please don't tarnish the movie. He still works in the movie isn't ruined because he's in it, you can still watch it. So Baby Driver, number 5. War for the Planet of the Apes is another film that feels a little bit more like an epic to me. This movie was sold as a big war film. It has war in the title. A lot of people, their big complaints was, oh, there was no war in it. The apes didn't, like, fire machine guns at the humans the entire time. That, to me, I think makes the movie better, that the entire thing wasn't just this huge, elongated war sequence. This movie actually focuses more on the personal conflicts going on with Caesar the Ape, which I think worked so much better. And Andy Serkis, for some reason, he will never be nominated for this, because CGI, motion capture acting, isn't acting to anyone, apparently, but he is excellent as Caesar. He, honestly, he did it in Rise, he did it in Dawn, and he does it again here. This is one of the best performances of the entire year. The motion capture never ceases to amaze me in this movie. It has the best visuals of the year. Sure, you can look at Blade Runner, be like, that's a visually stunning world. Same with, like, Star Wars and other movies with more visual effects. But this movie, the way they actually make the apes seem real in every single shot, the way they capture their facial expressions in every single shot, it's amazing. I should be used to it by now after Dawn came out 3 years ago, but I'm not. I'm never gonna be used to this. Logan is such a bittersweet movie for me because on one hand we're finally getting the R-rated Wolverine film that we've all been waiting for, but it is also at the same time the end of an era with Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. He's played this character since 2002. And he's just done now. And he couldn't have gone out with any film better. This movie was outstandingly well done. It's not one of those movies where, oh, we're just gonna give you Wolverine slicing through people, but everything else is gonna fail. Everything works. This is a superhero film that feels a little bit more like an independent movie. More of a character film about Logan himself, and that completely works for him. This is Hugh Jackman's best performance as Wolverine. It's also Patrick Stewart's best performance as Professor X. There's a monologue that he gives near the middle of the movie that had me in tears. The ending of this film also left me crying, and X-23, Daphne Keane, she is excellent in this film also. She's another one of these child stars who is going to go places. I hope they bring X-23 back in future films. Truly, this movie could not have ended the Wolverine character any better. That's why I have the poster right next to the Wolverine, but I got Logan too. Coco, for the first hour and a half or so, left me really entertained. I was really drawn in by the beautiful world that they had here. I was really entertained by the gorgeous animation. The characters themselves were all fully realized in the best way possible. Miguel, Hector, they're super fun, and Ernesto de la Cruz was a really good character also. It's the last 10 minutes, though, that really bring it home for me. Everything else was really great already. The last 10 minutes bumped this movie up for me to where I would say that not only is this like Pixar's second or third best film that they've ever made, for me up there with Up and Wall-E, but this movie is also one of the best animated films and also just one of the best films in general of this decade. It is a beautiful story. And a lot of people, myself included, were thinking at first, this just looks like some Book of Life ripoff. What is this? The movie takes the Book of Life concept, sure. Where Book of Life was good though, Coco perfects it. Coco perfected the concept that the Book of Life set up. Coco was able to become its own separate thing, its own beautiful thing. If you were not bawling your eyes out during the last 10 minutes of the movie, you may not be human. Logan, War for the Planet of the Apes, they had me in tears a little bit, like a couple tears coming out. Coco, I was sitting in that theater, and when certain things started to happen, I couldn't control it. My eyes just like started pouring. This movie left me an emotional wreck, but for the better. This movie is beautiful in every sense of the word. Now you might be wondering, Jackson, what could possibly be your number one? Well, if you're a true follower and fan of me, then I think you already know. This is the only film to have left me completely speechless afterwards. The only film I gave an A++ to. This is the best film of this year, but it's also the best film of all time. So, without further ado, my number one is... The Emoji Movie
is my number one favorite film of the year.
And my favorite film of all time.